Hey, everybody, welcome to the AI Hotline. It's our 10th episode. I'm Jamie White. We are talking about AI tonight with the new release of 5.0. Welcome, everyone else. If you want to introduce yourself.
I'm Heather Grizarn. Nice to see everyone. 10th episode, yes.
What's up, everybody? I'm Will Castillo. I'm very excited for this 5.0 because I haven't really tried it, but I have access to it. So maybe we'll do a couple things live.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I'm April Elias. I'm excited to jump into this ChatGPT 5.0 also.
And we have Tracy driving in her car. Can't talk. She's opening a new candy store, so we're moving up. So who so far has been in the ChatGPT 5 and what kind of results are you getting?
I've only been in it through Lovable. I don't have access. I'm not a pro user. I'm only a plus user of ChatGPT, sadly. But Lovable just released it today. Threw a huge banner across. I was like, oh, ChatGPT 5. I obviously have to, try it if it's going to be the same part of the system that I'm already paying for. So I tried it out, and it was interesting. It definitely took longer. I guess it had to think a lot bigger, a lot broader. I don't know. But it did kind of, I think it had a little bit more forward thinking, which was interesting to see, like in an actual use case, because I've been using just whatever the default is in Lovable. And it's been like, oh, you got to do this. Because I do the chat before I actually build it so that it will actually plan it out and there's less likelihood of mistakes. So this was like, oh, you have to consider these 5 things next, and like here's your next step. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna make things so much easier because then I could say, just go ahead and incorporate those next steps. Maybe I can use up less credits. Who knows?
Nice. I got into it and quickly realized that it was finally starting to slow down and think more, which it used to not do. It would just quickly go to a fix it mode and start giving you a quick answer without doing anything deep. So the deep research portion of it is extremely different. I did find that the way it's answering is a little bit slower or faster, but the thinking process is slower. So the overall experience has been about the same time frame, but getting better results.
I saw that it was available in Lindy, so it's also available there too. And so I haven't had a chance to check it out just yet, but I will be just to see how it works inside of that platform.
One thing that I heard, I tried to say through Mr. Sam Altman's presentation. It's honestly rough. So
Oh, wow.
um, I note down a few things that were highlights. So you're not gonna have to tingle between like the different models, which I think it's a super plus for anybody even jumping into this, because you will find yourself actually going through the different models to see like which one will respond better. If you were testing that, if not, you were probably using the 4.0 or the O3. So long story short, technically you're not gonna have to do that anymore. And then the other things that he mentioned, which I don't know how much of this is true, is the hallucination. Apparently, is going to be 80% less, is what he said, according to Mr. Sam Altman. So I think that the way that they describe it is ChatGPT 3 was a high schooler, 4 was a college student, and now we have 5, which is a PhD level expertise. So again, I don't know what that means exactly, but hopefully I get to find out soon. And then a lot of the things that it's saying that it's going to do is a lot more on the thinking side, to your guys' point. And when it comes to the coding and writing and things like that, it's just going to know exactly what to write and how to write it according to your prompts. So prompt is not as prominent as it used to be, where you had to do a lot of things, but you do have to have those three, what the direction is, what the output is, and give you context and examples so that it gets you the best outputs.
Yeah, I started to listen to Sam Altman, and it just It reminded me of Elon's because Elon also said something similar about the capacity of a PhD level with Grok. And so I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." So it was more like not necessarily more intelligent in every way, but academically it was PhD level, like facts and knowledge as far as that goes. So I'm excited to play around with it. I'm in ChatGPT all the time.
And I think that hallucination part, when it started thinking longer, I feel like it was being smarter. It wasn't hallucinating as much or giving you false promises, and that's made a big difference.
Well,
I
I
wonder.
had an interesting experience this week. I figured out how to unmute. Yay me! Anyway, right? This is I had created and I maybe I used 5.0. I have no idea because I pay the $200. But anyway, um, can you hear me? I hope you can.
Yes.
Okay, good. We're winning. But I had my CFO like did some. It was updating my business plan, and it started using all this terminology I didn't understand at all. And I was like, "Where did you get all that? And what are you talking about?" And he just went on and on and on, and I was like, "Oh boy, it's so much smarter than me. I need to now tell it to talk to me like a 5-year-old."
And
Can
what
you
that
hear me
was.
now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I was like, oh my gosh, so maybe I used it by accident. I don't know, but we'll find out. Now I'm curious because I've been in Candyland. I haven't played very much other than downloading like what I'm doing with my COO. Um, and some posts. That's pretty much it. So now I'm excited. So thanks for sharing all that, guys.
Yeah, I wonder with the with this model version if it will be better about responding in a really honest and truthful way. Rather, like I've been trying to train my models just in using ChatGPT of like, be honest, be straightforward, don't sugarcoat things, like tell me if I'm doing like some bad logic. And I don't think that ChatGPT really has that great of ability to say that yet, of like just stopping you in your tracks of, and say like, hey, you shouldn't go down that road, you should, go down this other road, and like be like in an actual conversation where somebody's using critical thinking skills. Maybe 5.0 is the solution to that, who knows.
It could be. Now, and that's interesting that you say that because when I re-customized my ChatGPT, just the global instructions in ChatGPT, I added some more constraints. And I feel like the constraints in the instructions or in a prompt help a bit with the hallucination because I'm like, just use facts, don't make anything up. And then when I asked it to the way that it responds to me, I had it ask me questions, and then ChatGPT was like, "Well, would you like me to be encouraged and supportive, or just kind of like clear, concise, and a straight shooter?" It said it a different way, but I was like, "Yeah, just be a straight shooter and challenge me," because it said, "Do you want to be supported or challenged?" And I was like, "I want to be challenged. I want to be challenged. If it doesn't look good, I want to be challenged." So I mean, I haven't noticed any huge difference since I tweaked the instructions a little bit further beyond that, but it's supposed to have, and Heather, I know you and I talked about this earlier, was the enhanced coding capabilities and how that's going to pull through to Lovable. So
So apparently, with the new reasoning that it has, it's going to be more human like, is what they kept saying. So less step by step, kind of like Heather. I know you were testing the agent a lot, and it would probably get stuck in multiple areas. According to the talks, I guess, or the Mr. Sam Altman himself, it's going to be less of that and more of being able to have it learn like the tools and then like actually stitch them together. So that's what it's supposed to be feeling like more. Is you tell what you want and then it handles a lot of the rest. So it's that much more smarter because we always, whenever we use it, like you always get stuck somewhere. At least when the agent mode was doing, and then at the same time, it was always asking for more understanding of what you meant. In this case, I think that's what they're trying to do, more of um, the linking, right? The thought linking, I guess, or thought change, chain, not change.
I ran two agents earlier, and it was just a quick type thing of looking for a co-living property in North Carolina in this area. And the first time I ran it, I went through and was like, use Google Maps to look for these locations, do pinpoints on it. Like I did all these different things and gave it a bunch of direction, and the results I got back were terrible. And then I went in and said, I'm looking for co-living properties in Wilmington, North Carolina. Um, Basically, that was it. And gave it a quick thing, and it came back with a map, and it had all the pinpoints on it. Gave me a whole bunch of different properties, told me what would work and what wouldn't work. Like it did all the work and came back by me not giving it the instructions compared to giving it the detail that I'm used to doing, and that was interesting.
So you tested that. You tested that today.
I did, but it was really
Very
interesting the way
interesting.
the results came back and were very detailed. It was more detailed without me giving it detail.
Well, what I think is also interesting, and I've heard a few other people who like cover AI news and stuff like that, how Sam Altman made the prediction of there's, you know, very soon there's going to be a one person billion-dollar company, and how and when he first said that, everybody thinking, that's really crazy. But with GPT-5, and then also thinking about the weighted model that they provided for us, either in the smaller version or the larger version, as far as having it, privately and offline and all that kind of stuff, and open source, it's going to be really, really interesting. And so I heard a few people say, well, we're just months away from a 10-person multi-billion-dollar company. And then other people are like, well, we're just a lot closer to a one-person billion-dollar company. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of trippy to think about with the way all of this technology evolves and the capabilities that we have. And so it's like, this is insane. This is totally insane.
Just thinking about that one step further though, because I saw the same comment in sub two of like we're getting really close to having one person wholesaling teams, which is
Yep.
that could be $1 billion company if it's scaled correctly. I mean, who even knows? So just thinking through that, they're like, what would that one person do? Are they just overseeing like an army of agents? It's going to be like 10,000 agents.
Yeah. And so they were also breaking out like the model, like when they break it out in either like the micro SaaS, meaning like if you just use it for just one function, right? And you could build that out and you can kill it just in one function instead of having like the broader scope of SaaS that we're used to. And I was like, that's really interesting because you could stay in that lane, but meaning like, say you just did the lead gen for a wholesaler, like just the lead gen, or maybe the
Hmm.
lead enrichment, or just that piece of it. Having that micro piece could be super, super valuable. And then they were saying like you could orchestrate, like, not that you want to have zero employees. It's better to still have those humans, but you just don't need as many humans. You get the best of the best experts, like overseeing maybe marketing or overseeing, just any type of like operation or a variety of things in your business, just in a different way. It's completely just reimagined. And so it kind of like stretches, the way that you think and what's possible. And then also the reverse of, we had SaaS, which that was one of the things that I sold professional services for, were SaaS based products, stuff like ServiceNow. So that's software as a service. Well, now it's service as a software. It's just interesting how it's like flipped upside down in what? So it's been like 2010, 15 years, right? So I don't know. Things are changing so fast. Like stuff felt like it moved fast before, but if you miss, like, I feel like if I miss even a day of just listening to what's happening, I feel so far behind. And so I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, that's how people feel. I mean, they're like, some people are like, why start? I'm so far behind, right? I'll never catch up. But in some ways, they've just missed the hard parts where we're bridging and connecting things manually. And now they could jump in and they could be building things just by talking. They don't have to create this fancy prompt They could just tell it what they want and it will do it. And I mean, I was playing with GenSpark a couple weeks ago and just what it was able to do. And to your point, April, like, or was it you who said, if you, oh no, Jamie, you said, if you just let it do its thing and you're not so particular, you can get amazing results. Same with, I bought, an AI video program that will make a video out of a picture or vice versa. If you want to be really detailed, it gets gummed up, like it gets stuck. But if you just say, a little girl in a meadow blowing bubbles, it can do it and it can do it. And you can tweak just little pieces of it, right? But the more granular you try to get, the more it kind of starts to hallucinate and do weird things. And so just being a little bit more, in some ways, they have an advantage, right? It's like people, okay, I'm going to date myself, but like when you went from DOS to Windows, Windows was harder for me, even though for most people that's easier, but I just didn't understand it, right? So, like, or Android versus iPhone. We can start that whole argument. But anyway, I'm just saying, like, it's an opportunity now because it's so much further that you can just say it. You don't have to know all the rules. But April, you just said something. I didn't know you could train all of chat to talk to you in a certain way. I've just done it in projects. So, ooh, now I have a new thing to look at.
You just have to consider how you use ChatGPT when you program it. Meaning, like if you're using it for a mix of personal and business, you just need to say, broadly across all my use cases, what's going to be beneficial. And so some people get ChatGPT just to use for business, and if that's the case, then that's much easier, right? You could tune it in just for the business. But then if you're someone who uses ChatGPT personal business, and like I had to get a whole nother ChatGPT because my kids are in it, like it's all kind of jumbled up in there. And so you can fine tune that, and it's cool.
Amazing. It is
Bottom
cool.
left hand corner, settings, customize ChatGPT. That's it. Boom.
I just never looked at it,
Yeah.
honestly. I mean, I knew I could do it in project, but that's so much of what we do is, right? When you hear about doing something, you're like, oh, I didn't know I could do that, right? Stretching our minds. But even in a simple way, I mean, that's obvious that you could
Mhm.
train it to talk to you a certain way. But, call me Kid Candy Lady. I don't know. But, right? But I just never thought to do it. And isn't
Mhm.
that fascinating? So,
Yeah.
yay. I got a lesson, so thank you.
And I go about every 2 months and go into ChatGPT. I do a screenshot of my um, instructions for my profile, and I put it back into ChatGPT and say, with everything you learned from me over the last couple of months, could you rewrite this? And I let it do all the changes, and then I re-add in anything that it took out that I want to emphasize. So that's something that's pretty
Fast.
neat.
That is neat.
And
See,
then the other
people,
side,
peop
good.
oh, sorry, I was gonna say that people have these frameworks to make the model better for them, right? Like, or whatever LLM they're using. That's a great idea, Jamie. I didn't even think about that because
It
you
knows
you
me
share
better
so
than I
much
know
throughout
me.
2 months. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
At this point, right?
But the other thing it does too is stores 100 strings of memory, and you can change that in your customization area. And you can take all your memories, drop it into ChatGPT, and said, "Hey, can you take this from 100 down to 5?" And it'll concise a lot of things, take out things it doesn't need anymore. And even though there's 100 lines that it's pulling from, it really pulls from 30 to 35. So once you get over that, it starts skimming through things rather than doing it in detail. So going through your memories, depending on what you do it, I need to do it weekly. Go through and descale it down and get it to more of a reasonable amount that it's paying more attention to what you want in the memories.
And I
Also,
also find
if you work with other people or like you have kids, you can always delete their memories.
yes, exactly. So mine are all over the place, or the memories that it saves aren't accurate. It was like a misinterpretation
Mm-hmm.
of a memory. So it's good to do that audit.
And I have each other person in a project, and when they're in the project, they're per se out of my actual memories.
Mhm.
Um, Sorry, I should rephrase that. In each project, I put a custom GPT, so they go to the project and use it within the project, but a custom GPT is running it, so it keeps it out of my memory and it's only in the memory of the project.
Smart way to use it, Jamie.
It was
So
confusing me.
I did some ideation in terms of like how is this going to be different, right? In terms of like the integrations and the connections. You know how you can obviously now connect a lot of different apps. Have you guys been adding your apps in there? I at this point I'm just going to give them all my information.
Yeah, I
They're
know.
they're they're, they're a $300 billion company at this point, so
They have it
they're
anyway.
not they're going nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have it anywhere. So
It's already on my
um,
computer. I mean, either they have it or somebody's watching, somebody's listening. What's the difference?
yeah, it's either China or the U.S. government, anyways, has it, right? So at this point, it doesn't really matter. But what I was reading is that the actual connections between OpenAI or ChatGPT with whatever connections you have in there is actually going to get a lot stronger because it's precisely to the point earlier. It's not going to be as step by step. Meaning you're going to give it an action, it's going to actually go into those tools as well. So I'm excited to see what I can do um, with ChatGPT now, and just letting it take over like my Notion, for example,
And
and
you
ask
again,
it to give me tasks.
Even with Notion, you with ChatGPT, you can now connect a lot of things through the MCPs. So like when you go into Notion, it already has all the tools and everything to work with Notion. So then the communication works so much better than having to use the standard API and having to enforce what the rules are and the tools and everything like that. And that's been extremely useful.
Going back to the privacy conversation for a second, I had a very interesting conversation with I guess it would be like a model, an LLM startup. So they're creating a new agent, but it's going to be focused on proprietary information. So
Mm-hmm.
keeping that IP intact. But what they're doing to build that is to actually pull all the information from ChatGPT, from Claude, from Grok, from all of these different models, and it's mostly like real estate based. So if you upload like a contract or seller information or something that's attached to a property, they're going to be able to pull that based off of people submitting that through ChatGPT and provide it as information to their users while also keeping it locked down inside of their model, which is a very interesting use case because I swear, like, somebody asks every week, should I upload contracts into ChatGPT or into AI? Is it okay to upload personal information? And honestly, after hearing that, I would say no. Like, always redact because there is a way to pull this information through the APIs.
Yes. And there's a way, well, in ChatGPT, it if you toggle off like to learn it's supposed to not, learn from your data if you turn that off. So they're not supposed to no one's supposed to be able to grab that. But yeah, exactly. Everybody's like, I don't even want to put my ideas in ChatGPT because I don't want someone else to steal them. That's how, APIs keys are getting exposed and all kinds of crazy stuff because there are ways to do that. And I think that's why OpenAI was like, hey, here's a weighted model that you can use on the privacy of your own computer. And as long as you have the computing power, there's the smaller version and the larger version, then you can run it offline at home without the internet. Like you can run it and it's free. And so I would go download that. I haven't downloaded it yet, but I totally plan on doing that. And they can contribute to the model that way also, which is, it's just insane that they let you do things like this.
And it really goes deeper because you're worried about putting it in ChatGPT, but as soon as you connect to the internet, you can connect to anybody can connect to your computer and get your information anyway. And you store your passwords on your computer. So technically, if you know what you're doing, you can get on any system anyway. Like people go to the bank, it's like I won't use an ATM card or I won't do something on online banking because somebody's going to see my information. It's like the whole bank's online. Like, what's the difference?
Right.
Um, but it's still you have to get past encryptions. You have to do certain things, and whether you're doing it through the ChatGPTs or through any other thing, you still have to know how to get around it to get into it. But in today's world, it's easier to learn how to do that because the machine learning is teaching us how to break the machine.
Hmm.
Like even myself, I use Notion to store all my APIs in a locked file, and then it basically works like custom values. So I put custom values inside of the LLMs, not my API keys. So that way it pulls from my Notion and pulls the trigger. It doesn't. I'm not putting my actual API keys in any of the systems. So like
Yeah.
there's workarounds to be more protective, but it's still not 100% safe.
Do you think password, like encrypted password managers, help with that? Because I keep all of mine in an encrypted password manager. I had a terrible cyber attack in 2022, unwanted education on a bunch of things, and I realized I legit had 200 passwords. I was like, "Oh my gosh, shoot me now." I had to change 200 things, and the cyber guy that was advising me, he was actually from the Department of Justice, cyber dude, and he was like, "You have to change every single one, and every single one has to be unique, and you should change your email for every single one, and your username and your password." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" But I want, and he recommended an encrypted password manager. Again, that's 3 years ago. I
Mm-hmm.
wonder if they're able to keep up. I don't know. Just
And they do really well unless somebody hacks that manager,
yeah, I know.
because then they have every password in one spot. But again, it's rare that somebody's going to do that. I think one
Rare,
of the
but it
key.
happens about every year or two. Like
You
one of
want
the
to?
major password managers are hacked, and then that's basically everybody's information all in one spot that somebody could just download and give to the dark web.
Yep. Well, I will say my crypto, if anybody that cyber attacked me, my crypto is in cold storage and the password is written down somewhere where you'll never find it.
What'd you say? Where you'll never find it?
Yeah, where no one will ever, yeah, I hope I find it. I don't have it saved digitally anywhere. It's
The
literally under lock and key in a super secret spot. But I mean, I guess you could always do cold storage, but that's so inconvenient. How would that work?
I think one of the key things is to either put like speed caps or something on what you're running. So if you have APIs installed, and if it's something that you're being billed for, is to make sure there's a limit. So if you're used to spending $200 a month on that one API, you cap it out at 225 or 250. So that way somebody can't charge 5, 6, $700 on your account.
For sure.
So I think that's extremely important from a financial world. But the privacy of what information you're putting in, that kind of stuff, is more challenging.
Yeah, and as they have this like merge into our experience, right? So like ChatGPT, OpenAI, I feel like they're really good at merging into our experience. And the other thing that Sam Altman said is that, you know, they released ChatGPT like 32 months. It hasn't even been 3 years total yet. And I was like, oh my gosh, in 3 years, all of the things that have changed is just incredible. And so people, they're disarming people to like just really trust the tech and just be like, oh, here you go. Because it sounds friendly. It sounds like your friend. I don't know. I just think a lot of things are really interesting about it and how it impacts just our experience and our, you know, everyday stuff and what we're willing to give up.
And then the other side of that is, like we were talking about it earlier, we're almost dependent on it.
100%.
And there's other people that don't even know how to log in.
They don't even,
Like
yeah,
it's not,
they're like
they don't
chat
have,
what? Yep.
yeah, they have no idea. And
Hmm.
it's amazing that that divide is so strong and how quick it sucks you in.
I almost feel like they're freer. Like,
Well, you talk about like the evolution of this one man billion-dollar company, like we were talking about earlier. Really, it's going to be the one man billion-dollar company over here, like doing his jam, whatever, just working from home, maybe working from, the beach. And then there's, the regular billion-dollar company with 500 employees or 5,000 or however many employees go into a billion-dollar company, and they're going to be operating as normal, but there's still going to be the same $2 billion companies. They're just going to operate completely different. And I think we're going to see that even like still in 10 years, because there's always going to be that dichotomy of people who lag behind and then the people who are first adopters.
hmm
And the one that's lagging behind is paying for the one that's the first adopter. The one with the 5,000 employees is paying all their money to the one that's sitting on the beach.
That's pretty crazy to think about.
Massive wealth redistribution for those people that are actually building like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's scary because like like we are in it. We know we use automation, we use AI tools. We're constantly trying to keep up with it with the changes. One because I'm gonna admit is entertaining, and then two because we just don't want to be left behind, right? But the everyday people that are just out there, they don't even like how do they even get started or use it? And that's a real question. That's always the question. Every time that I see any release, I'm like, like how are people gonna catch up, right? In terms of like understanding how to use it. And I don't think the younger generation is gonna have any issues with it. They're just gonna adapt at the end of the day. But it's more like that younger generation is gonna absolutely leapfrog anybody else that is before them, precisely because they know how to use it. They're native to this type of like environment, right? So things like freaking going to the grocery store, and then instead of like going to the grocery store, well, we have an AI just like pick all your stuff and then you just pick it up, right? Or taking a photo of let's just say the list of things in your house that you want to like redo, and then like automatically submitting it to to purchase it. Like that's how fast these things will get, where like you just automate everything. And I don't know if half of the people, at least where I live, are ready for that.
Well, I think people are asking the wrong questions because for the past year, people have been saying, is AI going to replace me? And that's the wrong question to ask. It's how can I still be valuable when AI reaches its peak? Like, how can I keep up with this? How can AI make me better in my job, in my life? And like April and I talk about this all the time because we just do a lot of like education topics, like how like AI can just make you a better employee, a better boss, a better everything because it's taking all of those smaller thoughts and like you don't have to think about them anymore. You just throw it off to AI and then you're able to think about those bigger concepts and like forward think a little bit, future proof your business, like do a lot of the planning that the people who are still in the day to day little things that AI could take off of their plate. They don't have to do it anymore and then they can focus on other things.
And I think the way you're talking about that divide earlier with the way separate companies run, I think the AI itself is going to do the same thing with people, and you're going to have the lazy people get lazier, and you're going to have the go getters get farther ahead. And I think that divide is going to get wider and wider and wider.
I think you're exactly right. Because the people that like to move fast, like fast moving things and like to leverage that. And that's exactly what AI gives you is leverage. And they'll figure it out and they'll figure it out on the fly and they're not afraid to be overwhelmed and they're not afraid to move. But then the people who are, they will, and they will just get completely left in the dust in a lot of regards, depending on, what they do in this world, right?
And that was
Like,
something needed. OpenAI also put out last week was the study and learn. So it's more geared towards this where schools are trying to keep AI out, even though the AI is going to take over, similar to calculators took over. Now there's a study and learn thing in there. So when you put in the information, it doesn't give you the direct answer, but it starts coursing you through how to learn the answer. You can still get the answer, but it'll start giving you multiple choice questions and do other things, kind of like a test type layout. And I played with it on a couple different subjects the other day. It was pretty cool. I don't think it's something I would use every day, but I can see how it would be extremely useful.
so it's like brain training, like cognitive exercise,
Mm-hmm.
like to help you learn. I could see how that could be helpful.
Like I had a question about coding, and I forget what it was, but instead of me just getting the answer, I did it in study and learn. So it actually walked me through like 15 to 20 questions, and when I got done, I actually like, oh, that's how you do it. Instead of me copying and pasting the answer, I actually learned what I was trying to learn. So it does
I'd
work.
rather copy and paste the answer. Coding is
I'd
a bad
rather copy and paste
example.
the answer too.
I'll still continue to copy and paste, but like, at least now I know what I'm doing when I'm pasting it, or I know what it's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to copy and paste, and when there's an error, I'm like, "This isn't working, fix it." And I send a screenshot, and then it's done. But yeah, it is good to know for sure. For sure. But
Hmm.
did we lose some
I
of everyone?
saw we talked about it in the earlier thing today. I think it's HRS is a new one that just came out for an LLM, and it's
Mm.
free and supposed to be 100 times smarter than
Mhm.
ChatGPT.
Yeah,
What does that even mean, though?
I have
I
no
know.
clue.
It's according to who?
Yeah,
Yeah, the
and
creator.
is it useful?
Yeah, yeah.
You
So,
know,
what have you found out about that, Jamie?
I haven't even had a chance to look at it yet. I had a YouTube thing popped up and I started to read it, and that's all the farther I got.
So, what is it called? HRS.
I think so.
Um,
I have
I
it
saw
up.
it earlier today too. I caught like a headline of it.
Where did it go?
And it was saying something about like the token usage, that like so much of it is free and
I lost
yeah,
it.
made some like really hefty claims. And then just to step back just a little bit, like even if people are learning now, depending on what they're doing, they might actually have an advantage because they didn't have to go through all the brain damage that we went through trying to build things,
Yeah,
right? Like
that's for
we build
sure.
things and we're like, what? And there's a lot of frustration. It's like it is an emotional roller coaster. And like Colin said it perfectly. My son Colin was like, these dopamine hits, these dopamine hits are amazing. And then you crash when something doesn't work. So it's kind of like if I think back, I'm like, man, would I be rather be learning today? Because it's still work and it still takes, critical thinking to build and get stuff completed and over the finish line, but it's a lot easier because all of those roadblocks are like smoothing over. And if you have to think the way you were, I mean, it's just the advances are so rapid. What you built 3 months ago, you would never attempt to build it that way today. So I don't know. It's like good to know, but then it's it's also like it's kind of stressful.
Yeah, and then it's also all the research that
Yeah.
it involves in it, right? Like, I mean, those people that are on top of it, like even more, like they're reading papers and analyzing all these crazy numbers and whatnot. Like, I mean, these are people that are like extremely smart. Like Arc AGI, it's what see here, like thrown out. Like I'm looking at I'm looking at the paper. It's this is it was written computer science Cornell University. There it is. So I'll drop it here in the chat for you guys to check it out. But it is it is just I don't even understand what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So like, do I want to? Is one of the first questions that I ask myself. Do I want to understand this, or do I want to just benefit off of the product that this creates? And then like, how do I use it to create, right? So like at the beginning is more, and to Heather's point is like people are asking the wrong questions as far as like what is it that like they can do with this. So the first thing is like being all is fear is like would it replace me? But then the second one is more like what parts of the job would it replace? Because that's where I was at. That's where I was at. I'm like, what part of my job would this replace? Because I never thought about it like it replacing me. And I guess it's obviously depending on like who you are, right? But or what you do. But for what I do, I'm gonna still need to strategize. AI just helps me strategize first versions a lot quicker, right? Um, the whole nother point is like whether it will create a new role, and I don't even know the name of it yet. Because like if you think about it, most people like most things like farmers, well, you're gonna need now a drone, some a pilot for farms because now everything is like so technology advanced, right? So it's more of that I think that like I people need to more focus on, but they don't even know they need to focus on that they need to focus on that. So, um, I like what you guys are doing because you're teaching them, you're teaching people in your workshops, which by the way, I know you have it coming up this weekend. Um, you're teaching people in your workshops is like where to even like get started and like how to see it or like the different features that they have. So, um, yeah, I think more of the questioning is more of how can it augment you instead of like if it will replace you, and
Yeah.
then really thinking about like what roles will be evolving from here. Even if you're a bus driver, like where can you get yourself in as a new role that you can learn.
Yeah, I
Like,
totally agree. And I think about talent all the time because that's what I do all day long. Did you have something to say, Jamie? Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, like, I think of things like you're saying you're going to need a drone license to run the farm. And how temporary is that? Like, if you need a drone today to do it, is it 2 years away that the tractors just go out by themselves? Like, do you need a drone? And like, where's that? Like, we used to have to put in a VHS tape or a laser and then to VHS tape and but like that, and then we use DVDs, and now it's like we don't have any extra machines. We just everything's on the TV and we can change it when we want. And is that going to be the same thing in the farming industry where it's just like you wake up and the crops are done?
Perhaps.
So it's like what technology is coming out that's a big boom today that disappears tomorrow, and how do you get involved in each step, or do you leapfrog and go to the next step?
It
It's
depends on how
definitely
fast those
sorry.
robots are coming out.
Wait, what's coming out, Heather?
The robots, aren't they supposed to be coming out like pretty soon?
Oh, Elon's?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
everything.
Or every like that's creepy. That's that creeps me out. I'm okay if the robot's small enough to where I could take it down. But when the robot's like big, like as big as me, or like two-thirds my size, then I'm nervous.
I was watching one of the videos the other day, and the robot was sitting at the desk running the computer, and the question came up on the screen, and it says, "Are you a human?" And it clicked the button, and the machine kept running. So the robot clicked that it was not a robot and kept moving. It's like, okay, that's pretty scary.
That is pretty scary. That is pretty scary. So much is going to be disrupted. I mean, for sure, a ton of business models, just like you said, the farmer,
Mm-hmm.
and for sure the way that we work, and because it's especially in like a professional setting, if anybody's just in an enterprise environment with technology, with Microsoft and with Google, like you just see it more and more and more in your experience. And it's funny because a lot of people on my team, even though a lot of them are savvy in this way, there's a meaningful amount that are not and are like, what is this? I wouldn't even think of this. But to Will's point also earlier about the jobs that it's going to create, that's what's so interesting because almost 3 years ago when this kind of blew up and anybody that was in data and technology, specifically data, because all of this needs data, all of this needs tons and tons and tons and tons of data, and then the machine learning piece. And so it's like, well, we had to start hiring for experience that didn't exist yet. So that was an interesting problem. So it's like you hire for different attributes because it's experience that didn't exist yet. And just because you are a really good software developer does not make you good in this space. It depends on how you think, how open minded you are. You know, some people are just, they think in this box and they think in these rules, and you have to be a little bit more creative and innovative. So it's like, you know, it's interesting to interview people to identify those attributes and hire for what you think they'll be able to do because everything is so innovative. And now that we're about 3 years into it, companies are starting to, but you know, not at scale yet, right? Still very small and scratching the surface. Companies are starting to calibrate, or they've tried AI and it's failed. And they're like, oh, you know, they've got some bumps and bruises because it just wasn't done right. They just got too excited because people are either super, super excited or they're super, super scared, and they respond in both of those scenarios, and usually that doesn't turn out well in a business setting. But they are going to evolve to these positions of these AI, you know, more AI engineers, more AI architects, more chief AI officers, all of those things all of those things are starting to come up and be like a thing everywhere. Schools are starting to add, centers of excellence around AI, or AI labs, and just at a pace and scale that they hadn't before. Whether they know what they're doing or not, they're setting it up and they're figuring it out, which is also very interesting because it disrupts on so many levels, and we can collaborate with AI and make things and do things that we couldn't before. But I still think there's an element of like expertise and like taste in creating some of these things. But it's
Even, even even when you take something like that and you fall back to what Heather was saying about the one person wholesale team,
yeah.
is that the future? Or is the future that you just click a button and your house went into the blockchain and you're done? Like, is there a person involved? So, like, there's so many things you can look at about the next step and what's not there now and what can be there in the future. And then it gets more scary because it's like, okay, the one man wholesaler kicked out 7 people out of the process, but what happens when you kick that guy out of the process? And like, is there an end? Are we all just going to be sitting on the beach on a drink and watching our computer run and robots bring us drinks?
I just want to watch the deposits come in. I just want to see the bank account go up. I mean, we're all going to be um, like all of us here are essentially augmented. We're AI augmented professionals, right? We use AI to augment our abilities in some way, shape, or form. So, like that wholesaler, like other wholesalers could do that too. And I feel like everything has a bit of a runway before there's some other big like release or capability, and people are going to have to constantly reinvent themselves. And it's literally like little gold rushes, or maybe, yeah, just little
Mhm.
like sprints, right? Because it's like, get it while you can and get it fast, because it for sure has a window, a time window. And then you might be making, a hard left in 9 months, 18 months, where you never thought you'd be before. But then you could, position yourself to take advantage of another little like sprint of a gold rush. I just see people making all of these moves to essentially ride this wave, this Nazare 100-foot wave of AI. And the people who have the energy and the resilience and the resourcefulness are absolutely going to be like the superhumans with this,
That's a
for sure.
great book, by the way, The Coming Wave.
I haven't,
So
I haven't read that book. Enlighten
it's
me.
all
What's it about?
AI and what's happening and what's changing,
What is it?
and how can you stay in front or on top of the wave and not right behind it.
Oh my gosh. I'll have to
Uh,
check.
yeah, it's a really cool book.
I think what we're seeing is the reshaping of culture, policy, trust, all of these different things that are actually coming into play with this. Because if you really think about it, today an agentic AI, right, is going to end up being like your digital coworker. So it goes beyond the acting um, based on your instructions to going more autonomously on your behalf. Like it will do the things that you were doing before. It can plan, it can execute workflows, it can create workflows, it can adapt based on like the context that it gets fed into. Because it doesn't have to be you, but it could be like the information that comes in that is supposed to go to you. That might be the case. So it is becoming more of like a your concierge as you go. So that's why I'm excited about 5, because if it's that much more smarter, then like I want to see like based on like my business, how can I really implement it. And then the other thing is like, what are the actual cost behind these models, and like what does it mean for like back in what, like 5 years ago, not even, like we were all seeing all this news about like global warming and all these different things, right? So like it's reshaping a lot of what people are thinking, is reshaping a lot of what it's being, shared out there. And I just wonder, what does it mean for us once we get to that like utopia of, well, if AI is doing everything, what are we going to do as humans? Are we going to be so dependent on it, right? right now I'm just riding the wave, just to make sure that I'm like in a position where like I can own the thing rather than like be under the thing. So it's a good place to be if you are on this side, I guess, right now. But you never know when you're gonna be, the prey at the end of the day.
Well, that's a good point because I often think when I'm in here, and you touched on it a little bit earlier, that it might be affecting, like your memory lose using this, right? Because you're so reliant and you're like outsourcing all of these things, and you're like, I don't need to keep that in my brain. Just like I don't need to. I only know one of my. I have 5 kids. I only know one of their phone numbers. Like that's because I just keep it on my phone and I know it's there, and that's crazy. They've had the same phone numbers for 10, 15 years or whatever. And so I almost get a little, if I think about it too much, I'm thinking, okay, and with the evolution of every new release, I'm like, we're getting closer to close and closer to merging, right? Now it's voice, and now we feel like we have to have it on our phone. We have to, and it's in our cars, it's in everything. And then we'll be so desensitized to merging with this technology, and it's going to be so inconvenient to like have a computer or have a phone or even wear the meta glasses. Like that's going to be inconvenient. And then it's like, are you going to be like, sign me up for the Neuralink, Elon? To me that's terrifying. Like I would be terrified to have like, but it is, I could see people being like, yes, please give me this thing, this chip in my brain. And I just download stuff like Neo from the Matrix, and all of a sudden I can do Kung Fu or whatever. And
I was
so,
watching, I
hmm?
was watching one the other day, and they have contacts that you put in, and the contact is charged by your brain waves, but
Because we're
it,
electric, we're magnetic.
it
Yeah.
gives you a display in the contact. And it's like, what?
Yeah. Yes.
Have y'all ever seen the first episode of Shark Tank?
No.
The very, very first one, there was a guy who got up, and the product that he pitched was this thing that you had to have surgery to implant right below your ear, and it was supposed to read your brainwaves. And so it's funny because that was like, when was the first season of Shark Tank? Like so long ago.
Long
And
ago.
so it's
More than
funny
10 years
that
ago.
it's like this whole circle that's coming into place because he had that idea like way before the technologies just didn't support it.
Yep.
Well, do you guys, how does this is old tech, but how does the technology work that when someone can't speak, that they think their thoughts and it comes up on the TV screen? Does anybody know what that's called? But you know what I'm talking about? It's like an old technology.
Didn't
ChatGPT it.
What's his
what's the
face?
guy who played Clark Kent?
Yeah,
He was in the
Christopher Reeve.
wheelchair. Yeah, he had that in place, didn't he?
I think so, but for sure, I remember seeing, unless it's like a Mandela effect, and maybe it's not true. I don't know. But I remember seeing this guy on stage in a wheelchair. It could have been Christopher Reeves. I don't know. Or Stephen. I don't know who it was. And they were thinking their thoughts, and it was coming up on the TV screen. And I'm like,
It's a tele.
that's why I totally think that our phones can read our minds. Like, might sound crazy, but I'm like, why not? It's emitting a signal. Like, we're electric, we're magnetic. Like, it might be able to. I don't know.
That would
Is
save
it
my fingers a lot of typing.
like people have you ever had the conversation with somebody of like, do you have an internal voice or do you not? And it's like, if it's somebody that doesn't have an internal voice that has to say everything, would their brains emit the same wave? This is like
Hmm.
way off topic, I feel like, of
I for
AI.
sure have it. I for sure have a voice.
My question is it going to have a spell check when it hits the phone?
We should do an experiment. We should just like think of something not near the phone and not say it. We should like write it down on a piece of paper, pass it over to the next person, and see if our phone picks it up. But
That happened
anyway,
the other day with me and Will. We were doing something, and something popped up, and we're like, wait, wait. I guess it's paying attention to us.
yeah.
Yeah. So I would like for us to, on our next episode, bring in some of the basic things that we think people should know
Yeah.
in order for them to implement AI. because I think a lot of the lack of education is precisely not knowing where to start in terms of like you still need to learn other tools in order to implement this. It's not just going to be like like puff and then it shows up. So I think that could definitely help a few people. And
At least two
then
more weeks before that happens.
unless ChatGPT 5 just completely like obliterates my my thinking on this. But I think yeah, it's showcasing a few of the tools that maybe people should like learn. So stick with us for next week, and then that way we can show you some of these tools, what you need to learn, so that way at least you implement it in your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Speaking of tools, have you used the Gemini Opus yet? Or Opal?
No, not yet.
It's like crazy. You just like literally put a couple sentences into what you want to do, and it'll go out and do all the vibe coding, do everything else, and bring it back.
I have
But
not. I gotta try that too.
I haven't been able to get into it yet.
That sounds fun. So it sounds like we just play with AI tools all day.
It
Don't we?
does. I do work, guys. I
I do,
promise.
I do a lot of work.
I do plenty of work.
I don't. I just chat with ChatGPT all day.
Yeah.
Uh,
All
nice.
right. Close us off, Jamie.
Is there anything else going on? I guess we're good, right? We'll see everybody next week for the 11th episode, and we'll bring in some specialty tools to start with.
Sounds good.
All
Thanks,
right.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
See ya.